On the Moodle page, here is the newspaper project library file. You'll need to download that and use that for this for this exercise and for the project. In the previous ones, we built our own story library. That's where you'll upload those. If you go to the exercises, we're on part 3. I'm giving you an extra set of stories. You don't have to use them, but they're just simple stories that you can cut and use for this one. Otherwise, you can pull the stories from your previous exercises. If you need more, there they are right there. Okay, for the layout, I think I've already got one built. Ivy newspaper, there it is. I went ahead and I built out a couple of different sets. Remember, if I was making this from scratch, I use my dummy page, and I wanted to load up, here's my newspaper project library file. If I open that one, it opens up as its own little palette. Here's the flag. Simply drag it onto here. Come on. There we go. And place it right where it needs to go. From there, it's simply a matter of changing out the text. So what's today? February 2, February 2016. Hey, if I needed to put the page numbers, let's add a few more pages to this one. Here's page 2 and 3. Here's a folio for a left page. I'm going to place it onto there. You can see there's the date, there's the page number if I needed to change it up. Here's one for the right side of the page. Looks the same, it's just I mirrored out the information. I'm even giving you a dummy ad that's 2 columns by 4 inches. And so you can place that one and then be able to change it up as necessary as well. When you do an ad, all I'm looking for are just a gray box, a placeholder text. So, I've already built it out. I've placed a couple of different articles within here. I will give you, for this first exercise, I'm looking for pages without any artwork. However, if you've built a byline that's got a picture in it, I'll give you that, that pass on that one. Or in this case, a pull quote that's got a picture in it, you can do that as well. So Homer Simpson's going to stay on this. Here's my layout. Now this one's got some problems with it. First of all, I've got 3 different articles. I'm doing some things right. My top article's got the largest text. Other articles start to get smaller as it goes down the page. But there's some things that I can do to tweak this to make it look and feel a lot better. What are some things that you see?
All the text is running together.
Yeah, it's all running together. Everything is nice in same-sized columns. Right here, it's starting to run together. This article is just as wide as all the other articles, so I need to add some differentiation. I need to be able to spread these out and do some different stuff. Let's deal with the first article up here. I'm going to move this one out of the way just so it's not worrying with us. If I want this one to look different from this one, we can change up the measure, the bastard measure of this top article. Right now, how many columns is this spanning? 5. If I changed it to something smaller, let's say 4 or even 3, now you see how the width of this one is so different. It's easily discernible by the eye that it's a different page. If I do this, however, I need to change up all my other little bits. So this one needs to fit within that column, and even my byline needs to be spread out and fit from there. Pretty cool? Now check out the difference. Much, much easier to read. If I wanted to add this one into here, so let's drag it back in there. Still taking up the same amount of space. For this one, what's something that I can do to make it stand out a little bit more? Say again? Heard it. Yeah, box it. Let's see what it would look like if I box this one off. To box it, I'm just going to use a regular rectangle tool. We'll set our fill to none. We'll keep it a nice stroke. As far as the width of the box, I keep it at 1 point. Rarely have I needed to use a very thick stroke. But I'm going to still use the same width as my columns. In this case, it's going over 5 columns. It's off by a little bit there. Here. Now, if I do this, and it matches the width. Notice that my article is going to go right to the edge. After I do that, I need to bring my article in just a little bit. If I've got that much gutter space, maybe I'll give it about that much on the other side. Same way for the top and for the bottom. Headlines need to be moved. And cut lines, decks. My pull quote seems to not be worrying too much. Bring in my byline. Let's go down with it. There we go. Top of it, let's bring this up, give it a little more breathing room. The main thing is you don't want your text touching the edge of a box that you have. Now I've got it looking like this. Pretty cool? Works. It looks a whole lot better. I could take this, I could make this go into bastard measure as well. Definitely don't want to add more columns to it. So I could maybe make this one 4 columns. If this one's 3, maybe this one can get away with a 2 column, and then I would need to change up the structure of that. All of those are totally viable options that you can work with. Boxing it, changing your columns, changing your height. As far as news briefs go, this one's going to be a little bit special. Everybody's a little bit special. Notice that I've given it its own little heading, so you can design that out however you want. A simple reversed type heading works well. I'm going to put all of my news briefs in a text box by themselves. We'll make just a few of them. Drag it out. I'll use some previous story sets. So here's the Benghazi story. Copy my headline. Paste it in. Copy my body copy. When I copy the body copy, remember news briefs are supposed to be really short, really easy to read. I'm going to allow you to do 1 to 3 paragraphs of your body copy. Make sense? So I don't want the whole thing, I just want a little bit of it. 1 to 3 tends to be enough for what we're doing. Paste that in there. Now it's simply a matter of formatting it. Let's use my paragraph style. This is what I need. It's maybe a small headline, and then this needs to be body copy. We'll set it to a number of columns. There it is at 6. That's okay. I could do bastard measure and group it out with 5. I could take the headline and change it up a little bit. I think for this one I'm just going to bring in the that a little bit. Let's push it back out. We'll keep there. If I did another one, since it's all in the same text box, it's simply a matter of finding another article. There's the headline. And first couple of paragraphs of body copy. Format the headline to fit. Y'all go away, I'm having fun. Does that make sense? Notice how everything stays nice and together. You never want to have a headline down at the bottom by itself, so make sure it flows nicely. If that means taking off 1 or 2 paragraphs to make it fit, totally fine, that's okay. You don't want to have bumping heads. If I took off this last paragraph, and I did something like this, now I've got 2 headlines that are side by side. Give yourself a little bit of distance within that. The main thing is keep your headline or your news briefs very brief and down in that particular side. Any questions on news briefs on that?
I have a question
Yeah.
about the boxes. Like,
Yeah.
is it possible to do like boxes where they're in color? Like you ever seen like
Like a screen box? Yeah, certainly. You could do. If I wanted to do it to this one, let's say the background, we'll make it a blue. To screen it, we'll change the tint, maybe 15%, and I would send it to the back, and so it would look something like that.
Right.
That is totally doable if you've got a color page. If you want to do that to your page, I would welcome that. Cool? Totally fine. Last thing on this one is the jump. A jump needs to jump to the next page. Here's how to create those. Remember, when you've got overset text, you're going to have the little, I'll back out so we can see it. Yeah, the little plus sign at the end of your text file. If you click on it or double click on it, once on it. I've now got the text following my cursor. When I go to the second page, this is where you're going to jump things to. All I've got to do is click and drag, and it will place the text within that particular box size. What I'm telling students is make sure it's at least 2 inches tall. And if it's the same as last class period, yeah, it's right around 3 inches. As far as the headline goes, it needs to place my jump here. So let's make a little jump headline. And it could be something like, see Christmas on page 2. Make it slightly bigger, maybe we'll make it bold. Maybe the word Christmas, the headline itself, will be in italics. And so now I know what to look for, maybe bold italics. When I place it within my text, I need to turn on text wrapping. Whoops. So now it'll flow around there. And I need it to line up at the very bottom edge that I'm working with. Now for this one, it's actually playing nicely. If I bring it in too small, that's what I want to avoid. See how close the bottom edge of the paragraph is to my jump? I actually want to have a little bit of a distance between the two. Here's how I would create that. If I wanted my text to be at the bottom of a frame, with it selected, you can go to Object. The text frame options allows you to change the alignment. And I can place it at the bottom. So now it'll always be down there. And this is where I can give me a little bit more space at the top to pull from there. There's my jump. Pretty cool. I would jump this one. This one needs a jump page. This one needs a jump page. Once I jump it, the title of it's going to be Christmas. So the title of this one needs to say Christmas. Doesn't have to be anything fine or fancy, but you can add to it. Christmas. Some people put a colon at the end of it. You can make it a little bit larger, but it doesn't have to fill up the entire area. You can do a brief summary or a brief deck underneath it. But for the purposes of this exercise, this is what I'm looking for. Jump headline, and then the articles underneath it. Notice that I'm not doing anything special to this. Wherever it jumps, that's just where it is, whatever word comes up. Cool? Okay, final thing. Second exercise. For the first exercise, you're just jumping to page 2. You do not have to fill up page 2. Second exercise is your layout with photographs and with your advertisements. I do want you to fill up both of these pages. So on page 3, I've got my layout with my photograph. Notice how I've done the news briefs. I'm asking the news briefs to be on the left or the right-hand side. It's got its own little design. I could add a line down the middle of it if I wanted a little bit more differentiation. Maybe in this case I'll make it thicker. There we go. So that gives me a little extra room, a little extra view from there. You can add photos. Doesn't have to have a photo for every little news brief. That's totally fine as well. The main thing is if I'm adding a picture, make sure there's one dominant. Everything else stays less dominant from there. When I jump to the back page, the very back page is where you're going to place your advertisements. And if you look on the instructions, what size are my ads?
1 by 5.
1 inch by 5 inch? 1 inch by 5 inches?
Mm-hmm.
How do we read? And is it 1 column by 5 inches? 1 column by 5 inches. So a 1 by 5 is 1 column by 5 inches. 1 column, then change up. There's my 5. Do the next one is a 2 by 4, 2 columns. That one's automatically done. Next one's 3 columns by 6 inches. Change the height up there. There's one thing I forgot to show y'all too. And the final one's a 2 by 4. So of these, which one would I place on my page first? Biggest one, right there. Place it down right there, or on this side. As far as the structure goes, try to make it as modular as possible. So something like this. It's a little bit of a U shape. That's almost okay. Another way of doing it would be to place it over here. And now I've got a better pyramid type shape. Does that make sense? I could stack it on top of there if I really wanted to. I would definitely not want to do something like this, where it's going the opposite way. More like that would be much, much better. One thing that I skipped over regarding the second exercise, I want you to change up the column structure for this second exercise. Whenever you put news briefs on the side, give yourself enough room to do it. 6 columns is not enough room to add some news briefs. So this is 6 columns. I want you to change this one to 5 column structure. Remember, to do that, you can go to your layout and your margins and columns, and on that page only will it affect the 5 column structure. Every other page, especially the pages you jump to, will remain with 6 columns. Does that make sense? Okay. What questions do y'all have? Nothing? Okay. I'm going to turn this over to y'all. Stop recording.